In this screencast, I'm going to explain to you how the layouts work in Morph and Configurator, and how you can set your default layouts in the Ultra Candy themelet. Now, the layouts in Morph are one of the more complex parts to understand, but also one of the most powerful features that we have available in the framework. And once you see and understand how it works, you'll quickly see how this can be of benefit to your projects and how you can quickly build your sites, especially not worrying about what layout requirements you have. So looking at the Ultra Candy themelet demo, you'll notice that the layout that we chose to go with was a sidebar on the left of 300 pixels and a sidebar that you see on the right, the 200 pixels. Now, at this point, I'd like to explain an important concept. It's not easy to explain, so bear with me, and hopefully I can make it understandable. So the first thing I'd like to note is that although we have two sidebars that on this particular demo appears to be one on the left and one on the right, because the layout system within Morph can change quite drastically, left and right were too restrictive names to call the sidebars. We had to come up with something a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more unique, and we chose to call the sidebars outer sidebar and inner sidebar. And if you look at this page, you can kind of see that that would be the case. In particular, when we move the sidebar positions, so we can move the one that's on the left to the right hand side. But what will happen is it'll actually remain on the outside of the sidebar that contains about this demo module. So once we start switching layouts, you'll quickly see why we've called them inner and outer. And another important point is that each sidebar contains 4 module positions, and the outer sidebar contains the left and the inner sidebar contains the right. So that's where it can get a little bit confusing, but just always remember that the outer sidebar is the left and the inner sidebar is the right, and that they can both be on either side of the page. So let's take a look at how the layouts are set within Morph and Configurator. So the first thing I'm going to show you, if we go into Configurator here, and we look at the building blocks, you'll see here outer sidebar and inner sidebar. Now you'll notice that my inner sidebar is, this is the default, the default layout I've got set to none. So essentially I'm saying that I do not want a right sidebar on this site, okay, and or an inner sidebar on this site at all. And on the outer sidebar, if we look at my default settings, you can see I've got it set to 300 pixels left, which is the one that you saw on the home page there. So you may be wondering now, why, if the inner sidebar is set to none, do I have a sidebar on the inside on my home page like this? And that's because I decided that I wanted to have a sidebar on my home page only and on no other pages. Now obviously I could have done this on 5 pages or on 10 pages, or I could have done this on a specific component as well, which I'll show you later. So one of the things that you will notice if we actually open the module about this demo is that it's set to all pages. But if we go to the credits page, for example, there's no inner sidebar, only the outer sidebar. And if we go to any of the other pages, it's the same. And this is because it's set in Configurator, as you saw, to not have an outer sidebar, sorry, an inner sidebar at all. So then why does the home page have a sidebar? And that's because what I've done in the home page menu item, I've added a system parameter page class suffix that you can see here of inner5. And what that does is it's a shortcut in Morph that you can use to change a layout on a page. This is the master override. When you're creating a menu item, you can set the exact layout that you want on that page. And even though the sidebar and configurator for the whole site is set to none, I want it to show on the home page. So I set inner 5, which is the inner sidebar, and the fifth scheme, which is on the right at 200 pixels. And you'll see the result is that I get this on the home page over here. So now what we can do is quickly try and change this. Let's make that inner 4, and I'll show you how the layout will change. We refresh, and now it's moved to the fourth scheme, which is now actually moved the inner sidebar to the left. Now you can actually see how it sits on the inside of the outer sidebar. Let's actually let's put that back to 5 and choose outer 6, which will actually now move the outer sidebar to the right hand side and change the layout a little bit more drastically, and this will really help you understand what we mean by outside and inside with the sidebars. So now you can see this is on the outside and this still remains on the inside. So that is essentially setting a suffix within your menu to set a specific layout. And what you'll also notice if we go to configurator is we can set a component default. And I've used this to set up all of the user pages. Let's say, for example, the forgot password page. You can see here the forgot password page is completely full width. There's no sidebar. And it doesn't matter if you go to the forgot username, anything that is related to the com user, in fact your account details, everything like that, create an account, is all just full width. There's no sidebar at all. And that's very easy to do. Just head over to configurator, go to the customize tab, the general tab. Let's just close that message. Component layouts, and look for user, and just set them to none for the outer, none for the inner. Save it, and that's what you have. As simple as that. And I think that's all for this video. I've shown you a couple of neat tricks, and in some future videos I'll show you some more. There's quite a lot to do with layouts and a lot of things you can achieve. But that's all for now. Thanks for joining me.